Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you are having a good time today. And let me quickly give an intro to this presentation. Why we decided to speak about our journey with Linde is that you may be in different stages of the automation, and with each stage, it gives a different level of challenges and different level of complexity to deal with. And I wanted to share something together with Martin, what elaborates more on our learnings across growing from the very first robot in Center of Excellence up to 300 robots operating at Linde, and what are the barriers or the challenges you need to go through. So I'll quickly say a few words about us as a company. So I am in automation business since 2014. And 2016 was the year when I started to work with UiPath. And actually, 2018, I have founded a company called Ective. And currently, we are more than 40 people around the globe, mainly presented in 3 countries. It is Slovakia, Ukraine, and Philippines. And we have more than 500 processes developed already for our customers. And besides other activities we do, we have trained more than 80 people. But as this presentation is more about the exact use case, I would stop here with speaking about Ective and more propose to dive in to the use case and hand over to Martin. So, please.
Great. Thank you, Edward. Yeah, welcome everyone from my side as well. My name is Martin Felder. I'm responsible for digital business services in Linde. What this actually means, I'm trying to explain here. Maybe starting at Linde first. It's easier to explain what Linde is not doing than what Linde is actually doing. So maybe a lot of people say, oh, this is a refrigerator company. Yeah, this was a long time ago. Some people say, oh, are you building forklifts? Because I see forklifts with Linde on. Yes, we sold this a long time ago. And we never, unfortunately, made chocolate. Especially in the UK, you might better know the brand British Oxygen Gases. So therefore, this is the same company. We are producing technical gases. So the main product is actually we take air, we take energy, and then we cool it down, and then we get oxygen and nitrogen and so on. And this is the products we're selling. Obviously, also other gases like helium, hydrogen, and so on. Overall, we're doing this in more than 80 countries with 75,000 people. We are the biggest company in this area globally, and one of the particular problems in our business or challenges is it's a very local business, because in the end, the containers or the cylinders probably in most of the cases are more worth than the content. So therefore, it doesn't make sense to produce the stuff. We don't have global supply chains so much. We have very local business, and this also means we are a very decentralized organization with a lot of power in the countries and regions where we're operating. Digital business services is part of digital business solutions, so this consists of 2 teams. Monica, my colleague here, is taking care of the projects. She's the one talking to our customers and trying to find ideas and trying to analyze the process and then handing this over. I'm taking care with my team of actually building and operating those topics. And we are part of the global organization, and we are sitting in finance, which is maybe also a bit weird, but this is because it's coming out of the shared service center organizations where we started. And we started with robotic process automation really to, well, this was most obvious in shared services, to really automate those tasks. And meanwhile, we are also doing process mining, chatbots, document understanding, we're building some web apps, and also then in the end it comes to execution management, so combining those topics together. And this is all dancing around AI. We heard a lot about AI. We said we are not necessarily the forerunner in AI. We try to focus on solutions that work, that can create really value to the business. And this is where we are coming in and say we want to use AI, particularly in those areas where it's, I would say, ready for the market. What we have done so far when we started in 2016, 2017 is like, well, we meanwhile developed over 300 projects in RPA and implemented them throughout the company. When we're looking at those projects, not all of the robots necessarily running with us. We have some of our customers, for example, in the healthcare business in the US. So therefore, they have their own environment where they are running the robots because of patient data. So this, we don't want to get too complicated there. The majority, I would say 75–80% of the automations we are also operating. And this means like our bots are running roughly up to 8,000 hours per month, transactioning close to 300,000 transactions per month. And in total, we are calculating around 240,000 working hours saved per year. So if you're now taking out your calculator and say, wait, 300 projects, 240,000 hours, that's not that impressive. Yes, you're partly right. First of all, as I said, some of the projects are not running with us. So like our colleagues in the US, they have a few bots running, but they unfortunately have the huge use cases with like 10 to 20 FTE savings. So we are probably more dealing with the rest of the organization, and this also showing the challenge. We have like a lot of countries and automations on average in our business. We are happy if we have 0.71 FTE saving for a robot. So this brings us a little bit to the challenge of our journey and how we're getting there and how we are approaching certain topics. So one of the things first when we started is we wanted to scale without failing because we don't have a mandate for a COE. So therefore we said, okay, how can we establish a COE even so no one is asking us for being a COE? And well, me being German, so we always try to be fast, so therefore we try to put our towel first. And so otherwise, if you come second or third, it will be probably too late to establish something like a COE. On the other side, we said, well, we need to have something which is reliable. If we build something and that's scrap afterwards, no one will listen to us as well. And of course, we also need to be compliant and secure. So this is something where we said in the beginning, very important for us was we need to have this close alliance and collaboration with IT, with audit. Actually, we are currently sitting next to audit. And well, based on our history, what we also realized is if you want to scale fast, go with the shared service centers. This is like the best place to really start growing fast. And then from there, we develop this into RPA as a service for the rest of the organization. Then the next question is, how are you realizing benefits? And what was your budget in the beginning? And what is your business case? So actually what we saw is quite helpful is acting more like a profit center. So we are not really a profit center, we are a cost center. We are not allowed to make profit, but we act like a profit center. So this means we try to really charge most of the cost to our business, and then they have to take care of the business case. We help them, of course. But this also means we need to do our offerings for competitive costs. And how we are doing this is, well, while being a global COE, we provide a global platform, we have global license contracts, and we try to really maximize the utilization of our robots. So basically, we try to bring everyone into one boat. Nevertheless, everyone needs to row a little bit on their own, hopefully in the same direction. The next one, what we learned, especially in the last years, was in the beginning we thought, well, you have a robot, so when you're leaving the office, you can have the robot working in the night. And then when you're coming back in the morning, everything is done and you can start working. Well, our experience is this is not the case. We need to have real-time automations, so ideally the robot is working at the same time when the business is working and really on very short notice. So we need to be highly reactive. We have very short SLAs for our robots, which if you consider that a robot is still a machine which needs to run up and load everything and open the applications and so on, takes some time. So really like pushing this to very close cycles was one of the challenges, and Edward will explain a little bit how we did this. And then also the other topic was, well, we want to work in parallel, so one bot running multiple jobs in parallel, multiple bots running the same job in parallel, and also being flexible and scalable because we don't know the demand, so it could be that one day we need just one and the next day we need maybe 10. And last but not least, high availability. If you have like a certain number of robots running already for the business, it becomes really an important part of their workforce. And they say, well, we need to rely on this. This is not a joke anymore. So if you're down, it is like a plant being down. And how do we make sure that this is not happening? So we need to have a fail-safe infrastructure. We are now just established a different support model where we have like dedicated support 24/5 for the robots. And UiPath is not paying me for this. We also found that Premium Plus support from UiPath is really helpful to work together with the technical account management. So, but now more on the details how we achieved this, I hand over to Edward.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin. And as a spoiler to the second part of the presentation, I want to say that we will structure it from the very basic components of the scaling, and we'll go to more advanced, and I would say like more interesting and spicy ones. So I would start with the core. So you may have the best technology, you may have the best infrastructure and everything. Without the right people, it is really hard to scale. And what we put in here, besides the buzzy words about the team and importance of it, etc. So one of the agreements with Linde we have done is that before any developer faces the client, we would have the full pre-training, not in terms of technology, of course, but mainly fully being onboarded on standards of the customer, as well as a little bit onboarding on the culture and the business aspects of it. So people who were entering the project at the day one were already onboarded on what is expected from them. The second thing is that you remember, especially those of you who stay longer with the RPA, that there was a lot of mention that you don't need the programming skill or knowledge, etc. We actually, as we build more complex solutions, we still prefer coders to low and no coders, because there are 80-20, like both can solve the problems, but when it gets really challenging, I would still recommend to have some coding experience for solving those. Then I think that as a small boutique company, we are not that competitive in quantities, and we don't have people all over the world, but the people we have are high quality people, as well as we treat them with a high quality. So we have really good loyalty in a company. And with team, having that said as a first component, I would move to the second one, the code. So to scale properly, not at the scaling point, but far before, you have to define well your standards. And it starts with a framework, be it the framework or you modify it or whatever else. Then you should follow on reusability, and then you should be tough to each other as a developers to have really tough and complex reviews, because you want to avoid the situation that some key user is leaving your company or leaving your team, and then there is no one to maintain your code. As well as you should think of scalability in a way that your robot, which is today built to save half FTE or something like that, tomorrow should be ready to scale twice, 3 times, 10 times, etc. And you should build every robot with the idea that sooner or later it may be 10 times more busy. So it should be really built from the day one scalable, and the right standards and the tough review procedure is something what should be enforced. As I promised, from the basic, we go a little bit to more complex ones, and here is the place where actually we utilize those coders. Is what you can see on the screen is one of the challenges Martin mentioned was the short SLAs or high availability. And what you can see on the screen is that actually our robots, some of them are performing in parallel. Here on the screen you can see the 4 SAP screens, but it can handle up to 6 screens of one SAP module. If you have 2 or 3 SAP modules running, we can in parallel multiply this execution. And when it comes to really short SLA processes or the license utilization, because at the very first, when you start your COE, you're like, our robots are running, and this is the achievement. But when you grow further, you have also other KPIs besides our robots are running, as how well they are running, how much time you dedicate to the maintenance, as well as one of the KPIs of successful COE is how well we utilize our licenses. So here behind me, there is only one UiPath license used to operate more than 6 SAP screens in parallel. And then imagine if you have the higher volumes or short SLA, how dramatically it can affect actually the performance of the robots and license utilization. So with this, definitely you need to have some coding experience behind it. This is the point where I say that coders are really appreciated also to do the work. Next one is the efficient operation. So after you have your short SLA transaction handled, etc., imagine running 300 processes in production. You may have 1 operator, 2, 5 operators, etc. At some point, to be efficient, we decided to remove the human decision-making process from there and create so-called dynamic allocation module. So it is a big brother, the robot, watching other robots, watching the SLAs, and prioritizing what process is to run next depending on SLAs, actually preventing SLAs to fail. So for us nowadays, there is no operator during a day or night like constantly watching and trying to reallocate, or we don't schedule the robots to run at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., etc. There is a robot which constantly monitors all the queues and looks what is the process which is at risk to fail SLA and dynamically tells all the environments what to pick next. Another thing what this does, I'm curious for how many of you it happened, especially in earlier times of UiPath, when you promise your stakeholder that, okay, during a night we will process like less urgent processes, etc. And then somewhere around 1 a.m., the robot hangs, not fails, but hangs. And in the morning, you find many processes like just queuing, not processing the transaction. So this module also makes sure that whenever something hangs for longer than 5 minutes, the big brother will go, clear the path, and let other go. So it is doing the transaction and process prioritization, as well as doing the cleanup when needed. And last but not least, once you have all these things running together, you want to have one single source of truth to where to look your automation. So, and it is not only about robots. Nowadays, as Martin mentioned, we do also the document understanding, the application part, etc., etc. And you don't want to grab these things around the inside Power BI, a bit of Tableau, a little bit of Excel, emails, etc. So we have one reporting tool which consolidates all together from all different technologies, and which is actually the single source of truth for the Center of Excellence, for our operators, as well as for business. And we are monitoring there not only robot or any other kind of technology performance, but also things like license utilization and our internal performance, like, for example, exception rates. And as soon as we have the exception rate higher than 4 or 5%, it automatically triggers the alert to our controllers that something is wrong there and we need to have additional look. And with that having said, I want to elaborate a little bit more on, we scale to these 300 processes, but it's still, there is a path ahead of us, be it also with our customers and as a company technologically. So there are 3 main areas which we are focusing on currently. Ective nowadays is not anymore the startup, which is somehow executing the processes, but we have well-established procedures, and nowadays, actually, we are lucky to say that surviving without the investor, the first stage of our growth, nowadays we don't need investor, and all our money and passion are driven back to R&D and enabling new technologies, be it an AI area, GPT, doing it together, and also having internal R&Ds, enabling stronger the UiPath platform, be it again the document understanding, testing suite, AI units with communication mining, etc. So we are heavily investing into technology. We're still heavily investing in people, so to provide you, to combine technology with also good and happy, patient people to deliver the services. And as a result, I think that it should lead to, first of all, happy customers, and secondly, showing the good results. I believe that we are open to have also a new customer. So if you are interested in replicating or maybe outperforming the journey, who knows, of Linde, I invite you to join our journey together. And with that having said, I want to thank you. Don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn, stop by a booth, or get in touch in any other way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.